Competitor Analysis and Inter-Firm Rivalry toward a Theoretical Integration by Ming-Jer Chen. The study of competitor analysis and of inter-firm rivalry occupies a central position in strategy. Therefore, a basic understanding of each subject, as well as an integrated comprehension of both, is important. There are two primary purposes for this article. First, it proposes a new conceptualization of competitor analysis by introducing two firm-specific and theory-based constructs which would allow for differentiation among various players in an industry. Market commonality is developed from the literature on multiple-point competition, and resource similarity is derived from the resource-based theory of the firm. Second, it provides theoretical integration between two important subjects in strategy, competitor analysis and inter-firm rivalry. Using these two constructs, the article presents propositions predicting competitive attack and response, taking the firm as the basis for analysis. The author argues that each firm has a unique market profile and resource endowment, and that a comparison with a given competitor along these two dimensions will help to illuminate the competitive relationship between them and to predict how they may attack or respond to each other in the market. There are three parts in the theoretical background. 1. An overview with respect to analyzing individual competitors at the firm level. Researchers who have adopted a resource-based view have attempted to differentiate among firms along the firm's strategic or resource endowments. 2. A framework for competitor analysis. Markets and resources and competition may be defined either as objective phenomena that all firms will consider the same way or as subjective interpretations of reality. In this article, market commonality is defined as the degree of presence that a competitor manifests in the markets that overlaps with the focal firm. And it highlights the importance of shared markets and market interdependence more generally. Resource similarity is defined as the extent to which a given competitor possesses strategic endowments comparable, in terms of both type and amount, to those of the focal firm. It is useful in differentiating competitors from a strategic point of view. The author adopts a different perspective, arguing that each firm, although differs from others along a continuum of market commonality and resource similarity. Figure 1. Quadrant 1 illustrates the relationship of a focal firm with a competitor with high resource similarity and high market commonality. The Venn diagram, representing resource similarity by the shapes of figures and market commonality by the degree of intersection, illustrates this relationship. The construct of market commonality captures more than simply shared market. Thus, the figure is meant only to be suggestive of the construct rather than strictly representational. Firms in Quadrant 1 are similar in shape and have a substantial intersection. They are clearly direct and mutually acknowledged competitors. In contrast, Quadrant 4 includes firms having similar resources and competing in very few markets, if any. 3. Inter-firm rivalry, competitive action and response. The dyad is consequential since it's at the level where competitive engagement occurs. The dynamic nature of strategy and the mutual interdependence of firms in an industry are best captured. Actions is defined here as a specific competitive move initiated by a firm, such as introducing a new product or entering a new market, that may lead to the firm's acquiring its rivals' market shares or reducing their anticipated returns. Response is a specific counter-move, prompted by a rival's attack that a firm takes to defend or improve its share or profit position in the industry. Propositions are suggested for linking competitor analysis to inter-firm rivalry. Concepts of market commonality and resource similarity are used to predict the likelihood of attack and response. Underpinning the prediction are three drivers of competitive behavior: awareness, motivation, and capability. In general, awareness is considered a prerequisite for any move, and it is likely to be increased by both market commonality and resource similarity. Market commonality will affect a firm's motivation to attack or respond. Resource similarity will influence attack or response capability. 1A and 1B refers to market commonality and inter-firm rivalry. With respect to the initiation of attacks, it appears that an attacker will be less likely to target rivals with high market commonality than those with low market commonality. Proposition 1A. The greater B's market commonality with A, the less likely A is to initiate an attack against B, all else being equal. A central characteristic of competition is that firms are mutually dependent. Firms feel the effects of each other's moves and are prone to react to them. Rivals with high multi-market contact are less likely to exit each other's markets, as that such rivals are strongly committed to defending their positions and thus cannot be attacked with impunity. Proposition 1B. The greater A's market commonality with B, the more likely B is to respond to A's attack, all else being equal. Proposition 2A and 2B refers to resource similarity and inter-firm rivalry. A firm's awareness of the resource similarity with a defender and the defender's capability of responding will play a key role in the firm's decision whether to attack. Proposition 2A. The greater B's resource similarity with A, the less likely A is to initiate an attack against B, all else being equal. Defenders that are most similar to the attacker in their strategic resource endowments will have the greatest potential and capability for retaliation. Proposition 2B. The greater A's resource similarity with B, the more likely B is to respond to A's attack, all else being equal. Proposition 3 refers to market commonality versus resource similarity. Because of the visibility associated with high market commonality, other stakeholders connected with the firm also will be aware of any competitive challenge and pressure the firm of whether and how to act and react. Proposition 3. Market commonality is a stronger predictor of competitive attack and response than is resource similarity. Proposition 4A and 4B refer to competitive asymmetry and inter-firm rivalry, from the example of airline competition. Hawaiian Airlines, a smaller and geographically focused airline, is the primary competitors to American and United Airlines in Pacific market. However, American and United may encounter Hawaiian as a competitor only in the specific markets that overlap, but not as a direct competitor in general. Proposition 4A. Competitive asymmetry is likely to exist within a pair of competitors. Any two firms are unlikely to have identical degrees of market commonality and resource similarity with each other. Firms that are considered non-key competitors may be granted a wide latitude of action without provoking retaliation from their stronger counterpart. Proposition 4B. Because of competitive asymmetry in market commonality and in resource similarity, the likelihood that A attacks B will differ from the likelihood that B will attack A. The same will hold true for response likelihood. The convergence of results using two independent methods provides preliminary support for the validity of the proposed measures and the underlying construct. It should be noted that the point at which similarity and commonality begin to matter in competitive analysis depends on factors specific to the focal firm. The article also introduces several implications. The implication of examining competitors, adopting the resource-based view of the firm, competitor mapping and competitive asymmetry. The article highlighted both market idiosyncrasy and firm idiosyncrasy in capturing competitive relationships. The conceptualization of market commonality refines the important idea of market interdependence, which prevails in the management literature. The idea of competitive asymmetry offers a unique perspective that can be used by theorists to gain a deeper understanding of competition. It also brings to the fundamental question of perceptual versus objective views of competition. Second paper, Nonconformity in Competitive Repertoires, A Sociological View of Markets by Danny Miller and Ming-Jer Chen. The issue of nonconformity could be well proved important. Companies deviating from conventional modes of competition may surprise their rivals, develop appeals that are distinctive and enduring, and be difficult to imitate and retaliate against. The research purpose is to study some of the factors that underlie nonconformity, different from other studies of competitive strategy. This study particularly focuses on the sociology of organizations, markets, and networks viewpoints. Scope of the study. The study compares conventional or isomorphic competitive repertoires to nonconformist ones that depart more markedly from industry central tendencies. The study examines the entire repertoire of a company's market-oriented competitive actions, not just the unitary rituals or administrative adoptions. The study does not posit any a priori norms of tactical conduct. The study doesn't view conformity or nonconformity as an imperative equilibrium condition or binary choice. The model in this study incorporates economic as well as sociological sources of nonconformity. The study assesses the financial implications of competitive nonconformity at the organizational level. Sources of competitive nonconformity. Hypothesis 1 and 2 refer to the social context, the diversity of markets and industry traditions. When firms need to compete against many different rivals for numerous market niches, they tend to receive more unconventional ideas. Hypothesis 1. Competitive nonconformity will be positively related to the diversity of a firm's competitors and customers. In new industries, there are no established rules of the game. Few norms or traditions to serve as guides, and few customer expectations or standards with which to comply. Hypothesis 2. Competitive nonconformity will be negatively related to the time since the last major industry upheaval. Hypothesis 3 and 4 refer to an organization's links to the social context, firm size, and slack resources in firm age. Large and rich organizations typically are exposed to many different ways of competing. Besides, because of their scale, they can afford to take risks and stray from convention. Hypothesis 3. Competitive nonconformity will be positively related to the size of the firm and its level of slack resources. Well-established organizations develop stable regulatory bodies that their ability to stray from contemporary norms is limited. In contrast, young firms are more apt to be nonconformist because they lack of experience with industry traditions. Hypothesis 4. Competitive nonconformity will be negatively related to the age of the firm. Hypothesis 5 and 6 refer to economic incentives for nonconformity, market growth, and a firm's poor performance. During periods of rapid growth, companies experiment with a variety of ways to appeal to potential customers. Moreover, the new rivals and customers that enter markets during periods of growth may erode competitive conventions and elicit unconventional new methods. Hypothesis 5. Competitive nonconformity will be positively related to market growth. Poor performance motivates managers to try something less unconventional. On the other hand, good performance fosters complacency and encourages managers to take the path of least resistance. Hypothesis 6. Competitive nonconformity will be negatively related to prior organizational performance. Hypothesis 7, 8, and 9 refer to the hazard of nonconformity. Competitive nonconformity will usually hurt financial performance because it increases costs and competitive risks and reduces the acceptability of organizational actions. Besides, the defiance of convention often carries with it hazards of novelty and unpredictability, the possibility of attracting attention from aggressive imitators, and the elevated costs of convincing customers of the advantages and legitimacy of an unusual approach. Hypothesis 7. Competitive nonconformity will erode financial performance. Big firms have the visibility and market presence to generate acceptance for their new approach, the power to lobby government agencies, and the influence to ally themselves with partners who can help them indoctrinate customers. Hypothesis 8. Competitive nonconformity is more apt to erode performance in small than in large firms. Target markets that are diverse will usually include at least some niches whose customers have unusual demands and whose competitors pose unusual threats. In order to succeed in these niches, A firm often will require an unorthodox approach. Hypothesis 9. Competitive nonconformity is more apt to erode performance of firms operating in homogeneous than in diverse markets. The initial database consisted of all 32 major and national U.S. domestic airlines with annual operating revenues of over $100 million, excluding all regional airlines. The period chosen to study was the post-deregulation era, a time during which airlines would have to discover the rules of the game in order to compete effectively. Most of the hypotheses were supported in that the results converged both for the whole set of decisions and for the tactical decisions alone. One of the most interesting findings to emerge from this study is that nonconformity also can be studied from sociological approach. It was found that the nonconformity of market participants arose in part from their social context and in part from their relationships to that context. The extensiveness and continuity of a firm's interactions with its market contributed significantly to its level of nonconformity. This is the end of our video. Thank you.